So, I think I should explain the attempted murder thing. I had a number of very odd things happen. Both, like, intuitively very strange things, and also, physically strange things. You know, things that I couldn't explain with anything other than my intuition, and other things that I knew something was going on. Like, I knew. I had physical proof of it. Not that I could, like, prove it to someone else at the time, but I knew. I knew. Without a doubt, like, I knew. I don't doubt my own mind. I have, but don't. I know. Don't. There's this bagel shop on the Mesa in Santa Barbara. They have the best bagels. It's like one of the only bagel shops in town that puts the garlic on there like that. Everybody else, like, mixes it with sesame seeds, which defeats the purpose of having a garlic bagel. So, so good. So anyway, so the killing, the attempted murder thing. So there was one night, and like I said, there had been strange things going on already. I don't remember exactly what prompted me. What made me think. Was that my memory of that night is somewhat cloudy. Even though I remember certain things, like, clear as day. Kind of like most people when they get in accidents, like, they don't remember things. It's kind of like that. Usually when I'm in an accident or any kind of, like, traumatic situation, my memory is crystal clear. I mean, crystal clear. Like, I remember everything. But, it's hard to eat that and enjoy it and talk at the same time, so I'm just gonna do the talking part. So, there was this one night, I don't remember exactly what prompted me to think that my Apple ID was stolen, but it was. It was stolen. It was a Hispanic person. It was a Hispanic man. And it was on my iPad. Like, it was weird. I had purchased an iPhone 11 from Charter Spectrum. This was back in 2020, I think. 2021, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure the records are in my bank statements. So, I mean, like, I know that I can prove everything that I'm saying. Everything that I've said up until this point, it's all true. Not only can I prove almost all of it, but it's provable if you look at other people's records. Like, if you were to look into their phones, or if you were to look into their bank statements, you could see everything that I'm saying is true. So, if I don't personally have the proof, it does exist. Like, it's not just, like, some machination of my imagination. Like, you know. And I could tell you where to look, too, but nobody's asking me yet. So, I was in my house in Nipomo. I was in the house in Nipomo. And I remember anyway, thank you, Spirit. Appreciate that. I do. I love the Lord. I love God so much. And, like, however people might think that that's not true, or maybe I'm, like, making it up, and, like, the fact of the matter is that no, I'm not. I love God. Love God. Like, 10 toes down. I love God. So I had some people over at the house, which I didn't usually do, but I did. And I remember the next day, or it was the next night, I found something in my bedroom. Like it looked like not a thumb drive, but like an external drive. And it had a C, you know, like the cord, the C cord, you know what I mean? The not the mini USB, not the lightning cord, but the C. I mean, I looked at it, you know, I remember thinking, what the fuck is this? And it was plugged into a cell phone that was plugged into another cell phone. I mean, I had never seen anything like it. And it was plugged into the wall. And I thought, what the fuck? So I called one of the people that had been at the house. Because I never had people in the house, like ever, never. And I asked him. And they didn't really seem to know much, but at the same time, I mean, you have to understand, I knew exactly who had been in the house up until that point. But that's when my phone was cloned. Was that whatever they had going on, whatever they had hooked up, it had cloned my phone. And I noticed that things were weird before that, but not as bad. So I, of course, unplugged the damn thing. And the thing is that I recognized the electronics. It was like the silver drive, external drive. And it was like about that big and about that wide and really thin. Really thin. And no, I think that one might have had a mini USB, now that I think about it. I think it might have had both on it. You know how like a lot of devices will have both plugs. So like for, you know, adaptability kind of thing. So I remember unplugging it and calling the one person, because I'd been sleeping with the guy, you know, so I called him and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Because nobody else had been in the house. And I don't think it was the other person that was in the house anyway. So although I know they knew more about it than they ever said that they did. Oh, I know more than you ever wanted me to. Believe it. Or don't. I don't really fucking care. Don't care. So when I found this thing and it was behind the dresser, so it was like whoever did it had plenty of time to hide themselves, to do this, to plug all these things in and like all this shit, you know. It wasn't like something that just was like something that, you know, a delivery person could have left or something like that, or the mailman or anything like that. It was plugged into the wall and it was behind a dresser and it was really hard to get to. Like I could barely plug anything in back there. So I know that whoever did it, you know, like had time to do it. And I remember looking at my phone and realizing that something was very wrong, like almost right away. So I remember calling Apple and like, you know, doing the, you know, like security procedure thing. And they couldn't really help me except to help me get my Apple ID back because my password had been changed, everything. This was, I mean, even Apple like didn't know what to tell me. And I thought, what the fuck is this? You know, I'd never, you know, so somebody was physically there. They had to physically be there to plant that thing behind the dresser. And, but the damage was done. I think my phone was already cloned by then. So, I remember sitting like in the hallway, like on the ground, because that's where the router for the Wi-Fi was, and going between my phone and my iPad. And in doing so, like in this same like couple hours, I became like, I mean, I couldn't think. I could barely speak. I remember my thinking process was slowed way down, and I was seeing double. Like and there's nothing wrong with my vision. There never has been. I don't wear glasses or contacts, none of that. And I remember thinking, like, what the fuck? Oh, and there was this weird smell. Like this oily, gross smell. Like, I don't even know. It was kind of like chemicals, but not, but like organic at the same time. It was I would recognize it if I smelled it again. But I have to say that, like, that's not a smell that I've smelled more than maybe once or twice in my whole life. And it was in that house that I smelled it. It smelled like car, something to do with the car, like maybe antifreeze. I'm not sure, but it had a smell to it, like a really pungent, gross smell. I know I'd recognize it if I smelled it again. That's for sure. So I remember, like, realizing really quickly that I was not okay, and I didn't feel okay. I felt nauseous, and there was this weird, like, all these things that I noticed, and my dog wasn't okay. Like, it was just all bad. And I remember at the time thinking, you know, something's really wrong. Like, what the fuck? And I didn't use the heater in that house at all, so it wasn't some gas leak. I've had carbon monoxide. I mentioned this before. I've had carbon monoxide poisoning, like long-term carbon monoxide poisoning. This was years ago, and it took a while to recover from too. But I think the worst part about the carbon monoxide poisoning was that, like, I felt like I was losing my mind. Like, I did. I really did. I really felt awful. I was having horrible dreams. I couldn't sleep, but I was tired all the time. I mean, it was something else. And there was never any smell, of course. With carbon monoxide, there's no smell. So that's part of what makes carbon monoxide so dangerous. So I remember calling, and this was after I talked to the other gentleman that I had been sleeping with. I called another friend of mine, and I told him what was going on, and he seemed unbothered. And I was not okay. Like, I was not okay by any stretch of the imagination at all. And I remember thinking, like, I think I puked. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly. But, like, there are certain things about that night that stand out really clearly, and other things that don't really so much. And I remember, like, sitting hunched on the floor in the hallway there of the house in Napomo. And I just, like, really had to get my shit together. Like, this was bad, but it wasn't going away, and my vision was getting worse. And I just thought, what the fuck is this? Like, I couldn't shake it. And I had a terrible headache, horrible headache. And I just couldn't, like, it didn't make sense, you know? Because, like I said, I have a lot of experience with a lot of different things. And this was something I hadn't experienced before. So I remember, like, getting my Apple ID back and, like, going back and forth between my iPad and the phone. And anyway, I think I finally just went to sleep. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly that night. I don't remember what I did exactly. I don't know if I did sleep that night. I might have fallen asleep in the fucking hallway. I mean, there had been so much weird shit happening to me that I didn't feel comfortable in that house at all anymore. But I was making the best of it. And also, for Bella. And, you're so pretty. And, it was after that things got a lot worse. Now, I thought back to that night multiple times, and there was something weird about that night. Like, something weird. Somebody was watching me. I know that they were watching me. I was not okay. The fact that I called my friend a person who was my friend. I don't have any friends anymore. Not that I know of. So the fact that he was so unbothered, and, like, my speech was fucked up. Like, it wasn't normal. There was nothing normal about this. And it was something like, either they had to pump a lot of whatever this gas was into the house, or it had to be something that stays close to the ground, something that's more dense than air, you know what I mean? Because it didn't make sense otherwise. I mean, because the ceilings in the rooms where I was sitting, that was another thing. That was another reason why I went out of the bedroom, and I went to the front room, was not only because of the router, but also because that was another thing. My Wi-Fi wasn't working properly up until that point, and after that it was shit. And I remember that night noticing it. And my Wi-Fi was weird. That's why I was sitting in the hallway. Another reason I was sitting in the hallway. But also I wanted like fresh air. And that hallway area is like right where the... Why does this lady keep driving by? Like what? Anyway. So I like something more than that was going on that night. And like I felt this feeling a number of times, but that night it was really intense. And I only ever felt it in that house, ever. Never. I've never felt it since. Never smelled that thing since, whatever the fuck it was. And hey, what are you doing? You got itchies? You're so pretty. I mean, there was one time when I found Bella outside, by the fence that separates the property in Napomo from the woman Victoria's yard. And I found her out there huddled up next to the fence, and this was shortly after I got her, and her eyes were rolling back in her head. Like, I mean, she was barely conscious at all. And I thought to myself, like, what the fuck? And I've seen animals under anesthesia before, many times. So I was wondering, like, what the fuck? You know, because I hadn't done anything to her and nobody had done it. I mean, I didn't know what the fuck the problem was. So, you know, I remember I put her on the little, there was a Shea lounge in the front room. And it was, you know, it was basically the dog lounge. And it had been Honey Bear and Bosco's the dog of Don Penny. But it had been there, you know, like where they always laid, and so it was, you know, covered in dirt, and, you know, it was right by the dog door too, so it was convenient for the dogs. But I remember I took her, I had to pick her up, like she couldn't walk. Yeah, somebody did something horrible to my dog. This was not the same night that I'm talking about that happened to me. But although Bella was in bad shape after that night too, neither one of us were okay. And it took me like 2 or 3 days to recover from that, to like feel not nauseous anymore, you know, kind of thing. So, but that night when I found Bella, and it was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and I couldn't find her, and I thought, what the fuck, you know, this is weird. And we didn't have like a routine down yet because, you know, we were new to each other, and, you know, just hadn't gotten that down with all the weird shit going on, and people breaking into the house and shit like that, and, you know, me being told I need to go to the hospital for a 5150, and then they test my blood, and what do I have in my blood? Drugs. Yeah. Like, what the fuck, though? So, you know, not only did the gas thing happen, but I hadn't smoked any pot for like 6 months. And I had grown a lot of pot up in Napomo, grown a lot of pot just in the backyard. I'd used plastic trash cans to grow, you know, and filled them up with soil. And my seeds, stop, Mimo. You know, and grown my pot in there and just put them in the backyard. And it worked, you know, it worked really well. Of course, I have 2 green thumbs, so, you know. But I hadn't smoked any pot for a long time. I hadn't been smoking pot for months and months, which was typically something I did, you know, smoked pot, like probably like a joint or 2 every day at least. And I hadn't been smoking any pot at all. And I had pot from a previous harvest because although I smoked a lot, I didn't, I still had a lot because it was just me and I didn't sell my weed, so it was like, it was saving money, because I didn't have to go buy it from a dispensary or have it delivered or any of that bullshit, have to, get a recommendation and all those things. I mean, I still had one, I just didn't use it for that. But, and also I knew what was going into my weed and what wasn't, which I appreciate. So, the thing about it was that, and this was a whole nother night that happened, and the neighbors were involved, and this is when I realized there was somebody in the fucking attic. Yeah, that happened. Real. Like, that really happened. And, like, I went back on that a couple times and thought, like, was I just, like, imagining that or something? No, that was real. Yeah, no, that was real. So, but it was... That night that the neighbors got involved, I had smoked pot, I think, to try to, like, calm my nerves. I had just smoked some pot. I think, like, that day or earlier that night or something like that, like the night before. So I had smoked this pot and, oh, the heater's on. No wonder. And, I remember I didn't finish the joint because it was just, like, too much for me to smoke. Oh, you're so pretty. You're so pretty in the morning sunshine. Yes, I love you. And, I set this joint down and I thought it tasted funny and it made me feel funny. And I know that when you don't smoke pot for a while, if you smoke pot and then you don't smoke pot and then you smoke pot again, it can have, like, some odd effects. It can, especially if it's sativa or something like that. Only I wasn't, stop me, please, not in front of the camera. Except that, go on, lovey bunny, go on. Except that, it wasn't sativa, and, I've used a lot of pot in my life, so, what the fuck. And it was like the next night that I went to the hospital because the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's, one of the deputies said, you should just go get checked out at the hospital. Which I did, voluntarily. And, still, when my blood came back, they told me, I think it was urine or blood. But I, like, freely gave the sample because I'm like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I do that? And, it came back that it had drugs in it. And I thought to myself, what the fuck? And again, I remember calling the, old friend of mine, who's not a friend anymore, and saying, look, they found this in my body, what the fuck? I was poisoned. So it wasn't just the gas thing, it was the drugs being found in my fucking urine, dude. Or it was my blood. I can't remember which, if they took blood or urine. But, like, what? It just didn't even... I remember they also told me that I had a pretty severe urinary tract infection, which I had no idea about. I just knew that I really wasn't feeling well, and I hadn't been feeling well. And I kept telling people that, but it had been going on for so long that, people just were tuning out of what I was saying. They weren't listening anymore. And, everybody kept asking me, why would they do this to you? Like it was something personal. And it was just like, well, what the fuck? Like, didn't anybody ever think that, like, it had nothing to do with me personally, that it was simply about the money, about the real estate, about covering their asses? Come on, dude. Fucking people kill each other for $10 or less. People kill each other for, like, pairs of shoes and stupid shit like that. So, give me a break. But, I remember, trying to explain this, and, like, obviously it didn't make any sense on a personal level, because why would anyone do that to me? And at the same time, I could say, like, I knew for a fact that this was happening, and there wasn't any doubt in my mind that this was real. Something had been going on for a long time. And that, my life was in danger, but nobody would listen. And all of this shit was, it's still going on. Like, I'm still being stalked. I know that I am. Do I have proof of that? Not exactly. But I know it's happening. I know it is. And, I know that I know. And then something weird just happened yesterday. So, like, yeah, I know. I know. Oh, I know. I totally fucking know. And am I bothered or anything? Not in the slightest. Not in the motherfucking slightest. Not even a little bit bothered. Why would I be? I've been through all this. Stop, Mia. I've been through all of this, like, numerous times. With different groups of people. Like, so yeah, no. I'm not even bothered at all. But, is it open now? Oh, it is, yes. Mommy gets to use the bathroom now. Gets to use the toilet. Nemo, stop. Please, honey, stop. Good morning.
Hi.
But, she's in a mood lately. Stop, baby girl. Oh, row. I know it's loud. There's nothing I can do about it. And the fucking seatbelt chime. Like, I basically, I was driving down the mountain this morning and I realized I just tuned it out. Stop, Mimu. So anyway, what was I saying? Stop, Mimu. So like, do you have to go peepus popus or something? Peepus popus? Peepus popus? Huh? Mommy has to go first. Like, I've let you go like 2 or 3 times this morning and I have to go. Stop, baby girl. Oh, you just shook yourself off your own feet. Stop, baby girl. So, that's the story so far. I'm just gonna leave it here for now and think about what to do, what to say next, because some of the things that I know about, I don't have clearance to talk about. Whoa! Stop it. So anyway. Oh my goodness, I love you so much. Oh, I just love you so much. All right, back off. All right. So, stop, all day she's been like this. It's only 8 o'clock in the morning, but still. Anyway, love, blessing, compassion to everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Ain't nobody gonna do it for us. All right. I'll be back.